Morning, everyone. So Art stopped by this morning. This is Art Buse.
Morning, everybody.
You'll get to meet him in person here soon enough. But we are looking at that detail for the floor, and we were just talking about, how do we get started initially. So go ahead and just talk through one more time. We're going to set our first floor truss.
What we're going to do on the I-beam is set the 2x6 treated sill plate all the way down the whole perimeter.
Okay, so that means we're going to put a 2x6 on top of that I-beam, and it's going to be kind of precipitous, tippy. We may have to help that a little bit, and then we're going to straighten that, run a string line off of it.
Yep, we'll put an 1.5" gauge block outside on each end, pull a nice tight dry line, anchor it through the I-beam to hold it, and then this floor joist will be the first one set.
Now, you had said with the anchoring, either blocking to kind of pin it in, or we could drill some holes and screw it up from the bottom side.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
So, similar to what you did with your bracing here, we'll drill some holes on the top lip of that I-beam. I'm on focus. And then we'll screw up from the bottom to hold that sill in place once it's straight. Okay.
So after that's done, we'll set this first joist. You'll take note that this one is the A02G.
Yep.
They all are designated different numbers. And
this one's got verticals for siding or whatever.
This is a non-structural joist, so it's going to sag. So you have to put interim support underneath here, some cement blocks or something eventually,
okay, that's good
and
to
deal
know.
with that later. What I would do is lay out this on top of the sills, lay out all the floor joists with a Sharpie, and then I'd go both sides of them. They're 3.5 inches wide. Then I would go back and I would label each one with a Sharpie, A01, right on down the line.
Okay.
And when it switches over to the A03s, you mark those accordingly. That way there's no mix up there.
Is it worth trying to lay out our sills together as a set in advance or not?
No, it's so quick to lay them on, anchor them on here.
But like for the other side, I'm saying like putting the two sills together.
Nope.
No.
In this case, you have so many students, I would have one team over here laying this one out.
Yep.
And I have one team doing the same thing here.
And they better match.
And you pull two 100-foot tapes.
Yep.
And you run down the line and you lay these out, and then you check each other.
Okay.
You check your competitor to make sure he's right. Try to find something wrong with his work, just to critique it to make sure this thing's right.
So let's just talk on layout too. We're gonna pull from the outside edge. Maybe I better get a closer pointer here. There. We're gonna pull from the outside edge of the first non-structural truss, and we're gonna find 19'2". That's going to be the center of this, 19'2", I'm sorry, 19.2 inches diamond, okay, on the tape measure. We're going to mark diamond, and then we're going to measure back. It would be 1 3/4 inches.
Correct.
Because it's half of 3.5. We'll strike that, and then we pull from there, and we mark every time. That's where the edge is going to sit, and mark the X in the middle, right?
Yeah, X beyond. So you mark a square line across. You just put a mark and an X to the right.
Yep.
Then you come back with your speed square or whatever tool you're using, framing square, and mark both sides of that 3.5 inch joist.
So again, I'll help you with that, but our layout here is diamond on the tape measure and 19'2", and so we'll start running those, and then what Art's saying is go back and mark both sides of that with a Sharpie, speed square and a Sharpie, and put an A01 in the middle, so we know we're setting an A01 truss on there, or when we get down here, we've got A03s because of the stairwell. Okay, a few other details. The stairwell is a little more complicated, so we'll put a separate team on this. You were saying for this particular A01, we want to set a gauge block on each end and pull a string line, make sure that it's straight and basically parallel, right? Same distance?
That's correct.
What are we looking for? Just waving in this first 7 feet, right? Or first 8'1" one?
Right, it's your reference point to set this beam. The beam will be hung on that temporarily supported with joist hangers. And then the layout will be taken off of that one, 19'2", following right on across.
Okay. It says LVL here. LVL is laminated beam. So there's two LVLs that are essentially the header or the hanger here, right? They help support these A03s. We're going to temporarily hang them off of here. It's not how it's going to end up or structural.
There'll be a support wall underneath later.
Do they stay in though?
Yeah. They'll
stay in. It's just they get supported underneath here. So we'll hang them here. We'll have to support them afterwards. And then any other details on this. We talked through this, but I'm going to wait on that. I don't think we're going to...
As the sheeting is run, you'll come in and you'll figure out where the sheeting should be cut. And then there'll be a temporary subfloor or a temporary framing of 2x6s screwed in place underneath here, and then you'll sheet right over this but all temporary, so that when it gets on site and my guys are there, we can take it apart and not be locked in. No screws buried that we can't get at.
Okay, so, and would there be cuts for the openings here for sheeting? It's just basically so you don't fall into the hole, right?
You're going to cut all these off dead flush with this framing here.
Okay, and then we put sheeting down, but it's going to have a seam all the way here, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would cut it off initially completely right here flush.
Okay.
And then here and here, and once you determine where this closet above is,
yep,
then you cut and clean on that side of the wall and here, and then you can come underneath.
Frame in our 2x6 temporaries.
Yeah, and you can just toenail those in, put a ledger under them, whatever you want for support,
okay,
that I can take out easily. And screws work really well on something like that.
Yeah.
So we can disassemble it.
And what I'm saying though is when we sheet over that, like it's going to be a totally separate.
Yes. You can leave a 1/4-inch joint there or something.
Right.
Ease for me to get those sheets out later.
So we've got a good idea there too. What else do we have to be?
Here, this is all laid out on top of your sill. The joists are designated, marks are down. You're setting this first truss flush with the sill, nailing it down securely, and then you're going to do the next couple, and you're going to stop. And you're going to take a 2-foot level, and you're going to plumb this, and get it plumbed, and get a good brace on it.
Vertical, okay.
Correct.
All right.
So then you can keep rolling those joists. One team here, one team over here, working together, talking to each other, so nobody drops a joist or pokes it, shoves it off the beam, tips the beams over. We're going to be very careful with that. Watch out for the gussets, they're very sharp. And at that point, then
when do we put the ribbon in? That's after we've got everything set.
The ribbon on the top outside corner.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about now. What you're going to do, and you can lay this out ahead of time if you want. You take a 2x4 and you exactly match this layout right down the line.
Yeah. So for efficiency, once we get all those struck, it might be worth it to lay that, to pull it off of there.
That's exactly what I do. Stack it on top, square it up, match it exactly, lay it out of your work area away, and then go ahead and set all your joists, and then bring that up. This one is plumbed. The rest of them are set to lay out. You check when you get to the stairway ones and those to make sure those are
plumbed. Staying plumb.
They're staying plumb also. And then you verify the end and brace that too.
Okay. So looking around at our work area here, and if you were bringing trusses in, the floor load, where would you set them so that we can walk them in?
Right next to your truck.
Okay.
Right in that area.
And then walk them in.
They're only going to be on the grass for a couple days.
If we walk them in from this far end and bring them down the center, is that going to be easiest?
Yeah, you've got a little army of people here, so you can set them wherever you want to. They're easy. The main thing is not turning them end for end. They have a paper tag on them that designates what's what.
Yep.
That all goes per the direction shown on the plan.
There's an X end, and they're very specific about that.
Yeah. And you could easily put them next to my truck on that little bit of concrete there. That's probably a better place.
Okay.
And you're not in the lawn.
Yeah.
And
well, we're going to get floor load too, but that's going to get burned up in a day. So
yeah, and that's your sheeting.
All right. I'm just wondering there versus having them run it all the way up here and bring it in, but it's probably easiest to walk them in because we're starting from this end anyway.
Because you're starting here.
Yep.
You're going to find that first AO1G or whatever it was, and you're going to walk it down here, and you'll have guys carrying these down as other guys are setting them.
Okay. So, a challenge we're going to have when setting the sills, obviously we've got these whips in here. We're going to we have to make sure that we are centered on, boy, it'd be 23.9 minus 5.5. What would that be?
For what purpose?
Well, to center that sill plate on the I-beam, right? So it balances there, because we only have 2.5 inches of web here. And if I want to get it close to center, I don't want these at 23.9 because that sill's going to want to tip in off there.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it in a little bit. So I'm saying we want to set the distance between these beams to be about 24 inches. And the reason for that is then we would be able to overhang the sill evenly on each side and get to our 23.9 to the outside of the sill. But it's just going to be easiest if we set it here. Otherwise, it's going to want to constantly flop in. And I know this thing is just not that straight, especially with like that whip there. But
the beam's not straight, so what I do is come out about an inch or an inch and a half here and set the first one.
Yeah.
I do the same on the other end, pull my line, and set them all to
we'll
that.
just keep adjusting the beam as we go down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else for floor for now?
Nailing pattern on the floor sheeting, lots of glue.
Okay.
You have to string your ends so you can straighten that non-structural gable truss. You have to shore it up ahead of time so it's not sagging. The nailing pattern to be 6 inches on the perimeter and 8 inches in the field.
Okay.
And all those nails have to be driven down so when you rub your hammer head over them, they don't click.
Okay.
You want them flush or slightly below.
Okay. And what are we nailing that off with? Is it
Just
10s?
8-penny sinkers.
8s, okay. Okay, we can get to wall layout in a separate video. And I think that'll be a separate visit because we probably got a week's worth of work here is my guess.
You guys gonna have to be efficient here because tech is ahead of you. They're getting their subfloor down right now.
Okay.